Welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. I'm Candy Brown, your host, and I am so excited about my guest who is joining me in the ring today. She not only is a powerhouse in her own right, she is also one of my dearest friends. And so before we go any further, let me just give a shout out and welcome Megan Tull to the show. Welcome, Megan.
Hi, Candy. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Oh, I cannot tell you. I am like jumping out of my skin with excitement because I know she just has so many amazing things to share. Before we dig into everything, just so you know, this is our space to redefine leadership. It is all talking about how leadership is a choice. It is how you choose to show up, how you choose to serve others, and how you choose to take that personal responsibility inside those two spaces. We get into some very deep, courageous conversations, and it's where, you know, we like to get things pretty real. So before we jump into one of those meaty conversations, let me tell you a little bit more about my dear friend, Megan Tull. She is an entrepreneur success strategist, transformational leader in business and life, and author and international speaker. Megan is also the CEO and founder of Silver Lining Concepts, an innovative business coaching and consulting firm. Megan's passion and expertise is helping high-achieving, success-conscious business professionals and entrepreneurs to eliminate the struggle and overwhelm by redesigning their career or business to align with their unique value and true self. She helps them discover their brilliance, I love that, allowing them to authentically attract their ideal clients with ease, generating more profit and more fun in their career and business, all while making a difference in the world. She is also the best-selling author of The Passion Belief Method, Own Your Value and Earn Your Worth in Business, and is a regular contributor for the Huffington Post and the business journals. And she has been featured expert on CBS and FOX. And I could go on and on and on and on about how freaking fantastic this woman is. But before I do that, I just want to say, Megan, welcome, and talk to us a little bit about how you got here.
Okay. So it's been quite the journey. That's for sure. And so although I'm, successful now, it hasn't always been that way. In fact, I've been through quite a bit of adversity in my life, from, becoming a widow at age 30 and becoming a single mom. My son was 2.5 at the time. I was a single mom for 9.5 years. Over the years, I've built 7 different businesses, had a lot of financial highs and lows. And I have to say, those adverse times, when your back is against the wall, that's when the big shifts happen, right? And so I remember a time that, things were rocking and rolling in my business. I was making a lot of money. I had, the fancy house and the brand new SUV to pull my brand new boat, and things were great, right? And, I've been always good at, really just doing what I had to do, kind of pushing forward. And, at times, most of my life, actually, it felt like I was pushing that metaphoric rock up the hill, right? And just pushing and pushing. And I'm, very determined, like you, Candy, very stubborn, very determined. And, I can persevere through anything. And I was doing that for so long. And yes, I was getting results. But after a while, it just didn't work anymore. It wasn't sustainable. I was in a really unhealthy relationship. So emotionally, I was not in a good place. And everything came crashing down. And I went from feeling like I had it all to practically losing everything. So there is some grace in that, though. That was actually one of my biggest pivot points in my life. After I was able to kind of pick myself up, brush myself off, and take a look at my life and be like, okay, what's going on? Why did this happen? And what is it that I really want? And so I realized that I was doing what I felt like I needed to do, what all the gurus in my industry were telling me to do to be successful. And I'm like, okay, I could do that, right? But then it really was in alignment with my true self and with my passions and with my purpose. So being out of alignment, it didn't flow, and it was a struggle, and it was hard. And after a while, I just couldn't do it anymore, and it wasn't sustainable. So that's was my big aha moment. So I did some, self-reflection, got really clear on what I wanted to create for my business. What was I passionate about? What were my unique gifts, my brilliance, as Candy had mentioned, and like, how can I best use those gifts in a way that is truly going to help my clients? Offer the most value, make the biggest impact. And, it's nice to have a lot of money too. So how can I do that in a way where, it's a win-win for everyone? So it didn't happen overnight, but I did the work to figure out what that looks like. And now today I can say that I'm very blessed to have a business that's completely in alignment with my passion, my purpose, and I help other people to do the same exact thing. Because I see so many people struggle with that, with not truly knowing their unique value. So they don't have the confidence to present themselves or ask for what they're worth, or they're just kind of living in this cycle of doing what they think they need to do versus what they truly want to do. And I have to tell you, you can have it all. You can love what you do, make a difference, and make a lot of money. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell.
Well, and I love that. There's so many aspects of that I love. First and foremost, that you jumped right in and talked about adversity, and the fact that the adversity has been what's moved you along that path. And I think the other thing, and I'd love to explore that a little bit more, because I think for some people, they see people that are wired with that stubbornness or that perseverance or that sheer will of, I'm going to get something done no matter what. And even though by outward appearances, it looks like, oh, they're pushing that rock up the hill, they got this, they're like superwoman, they're whatever, not realizing how much that's wearing on us, how much that's beating us down, until it gets to be that kind of, the rock slides back and crashes down. And so I'm curious about a couple things in that. One, in those moments when the adversity is probably coming at you in full force, because I would say that there's still adversity, you still experience adversity from time to time in just daily life, right? And so when the adversity is coming at you, how do you stand in the space to face the adversity without it being that boulder that slides down the hill again and kind of pushes you back to where you're like, okay, now I'm at rock bottom? And what has been one of the biggest shifts for you from a maybe mindset perspective, or from your own way you've chosen to show up, so that you're not out there just muscling, but have given yourself that permission to allow more things to come to you instead?
Okay.
If those made sense.
Yes. I just want to remember what you said. So the first thing, how do I handle daily adversity or challenges that come up? Well, our first reaction is to react, right? And to, often, look at that situation, and we have these feelings of frustration, anger, fear, whatever shows up. And those feelings actually are very debilitating. And so one thing that I learned is, you do want to acknowledge, those feelings that show up when you are having some challenges. Maybe you didn't get the client that you wanted, or, finances are a little tight, whatever the situation is, and you're feeling, you have these thoughts that are negative, and you have these feelings that support that are negative. You want to acknowledge that those feelings exist. You can't just shove them away and pretend they're not there. So you do want to acknowledge them. And so I've developed a process that I use myself and that I teach my clients to use. I call it my allowing process, where you really welcome those feelings into your being. You kind of breathe into those feelings, because when you're doing that, you're taking away their power, and they don't feel as heavy. They don't feel as big. The more you can breathe into those feelings and focus on those feelings. And then the trick is to shift into a positive state of being. And how you can do that is ask yourself, okay, am I willing to let these negative feelings go? Now your mind, your ego is probably going to be like, no, I'm mad, I'm angry, whatever. Got to hold on to this, right? But if you can just say, okay, just for a moment, can I let this go? And you start focusing on, okay, what is it that you do want to create? You know, and start visualizing in your mind, what does that look like if I got the positive outcome that I desire? And then start tapping into those feelings of how am I going to feel once I'm there? Am I going to feel joy, peaceful, happy, gratitude, whatever? And you start tapping into those feelings and start breathing into those new feelings and welcoming and accepting those new feelings into your being. And when you're able to do that, Candy, that's when everything shifts. Because let me tell you, when you're in a negative state of being, your mind contracts. Mm-hmm. No longer are you creative. No longer can you access your problem-solving skills. You are extremely repellent and or repelling, I should say, to anything that you want in your life. So you're repelling to a potential client or opportunities or anything like that. So in essence, you're stuck and you're paralyzed, and you're not going to certainly get where you want to go. So in that state of being, you're not effective. So it's so important to take that time to, you know, start shifting those feelings, focus on what you do want to create, because when you're able to start tapping into those new positive feelings, you can start to shift and expand. And all of a sudden you have access to your creativity and your problem solving skills, and you're going to become a magnet to, you know, people that are going to support you in your goals, to opportunities, to potential clients. It's such a beautiful thing that happens. So we have the power to change our thoughts, and our thoughts are everything. And from those thoughts come those feelings, right? And that's what we have to shift. So that is a great tool that I've used, that I use on a daily basis. I mean, when you're driving and someone cuts you off and your first intent is like, oh, I'm going to get them back, or I can't believe they did that, whatever, you know, just take a moment and breathe and let those feelings go. Because you and I both know that if you are in a negative space, it seems like, okay, all these negative things keep happening, right? And you just keep attracting them. So you have to take that time to get into that positive state so you can stay on track and stay productive, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then another thing too, Candy, so what I do on a daily basis too is really make sure that I'm super intentional with what I want to create, and I'm living my day-to-day on purpose. So for me, it's about starting the day in gratitude and coming from that place of grace, because it's so important for us to recognize all the good things that are happening in our life, and, you know, celebrate that and thank God for those things. Because then, you know, when you're focusing on the positive things, you know, your family, your friends, your health, the fact that you get to do what you love every day, whatever it is for you, then you can kind of shift immediately into that peaceful state. And from there, you can quiet all the, I call it monkey chatter, all the crap that's going on in your head and thinking all these things you have to do throughout the day, and you know your to-do list, right? But if you can start in that place of gratitude, quiet your mind, and get focused, then you can start thinking about, what do I want to create today? And I kind of role play in my head like what I have going on that day. So if I have, you know, an interview or a meeting or an appointment with a client, like I visualize how I want that to turn out, and you know what I expect from those experiences. What's the desired outcome I want to create? And it's amazing. I'm not saying that everything goes perfect all the time, but it's amazing how when you're that intentional and on purpose, that you can really set the tone, and amazing things start, you know, coming together and attracting, you know, to you in your life.
Yeah. And I think, you know, there's something to be said about setting that intention, right? It's not so much that everything goes exactly as you want it to and it unfolds and it's all, you know, unicorns and rainbows all day long, which don't get me wrong, we have those days, right? But it also helps, I think, better prepare you when the adversity shows up. When you've got a day that's intentional, you set that tone for, because as you talked about, there's this space of we really can control, we have the power to control our thoughts, or at least change our thoughts from what comes in. We don't necessarily can't control the immediate thought, but we can choose what we want to do with it, and whether or not it's going to be something we allow to kind of stay and reside, or if it's something that we're going to just watch and let it kind of float away, and choose what we take from that. And so I think, that focus around being intentional, not only in how we show up and how we want our day to unfold, but that intention around knowing that any thought is just that. It's a thought that we have the opportunity to decide where and what we want to do with it as a result. And so I love the fact that you're talking about that. One thing that I want to kind of dig into a little bit is you talked about one of the things you ask yourself, and it plays so well into some of the things we work with this audience that's listening, changing that frame. And you said, what is it you want to create? And I think about that's sort of that imagine-if space, right? It's the imagine the possibilities, because you can play the doomsday what if, and that negative spiral that happens, which, yes, then everything negative starts to compound itself, and everything that could go wrong comes flying at you from a million different directions, versus that language that you use that is, what is it you want to create? And so when I think about that space of creation, and I think about the power of our mind in that space, talk a little bit about how you've used that process, or as you're even thinking about on the horizon, that space of imagine if, in terms of what you want to create, and why that's so powerful, and how that keeps you connected every day.
So, I mean, in order to be able to get into that space, where you feel like you have access to, really live into the possibilities, I think it really is important to understand what you do want to create and get clear, because having that clear vision allows you to kind of open up the path, right? So if you're not clear, you're really not going to be able to step into what's possible, right? So gaining that clarity of what you really want to create, but then, for me, it's about really believing in yourself, and trusting yourself. And that, I think, is one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last couple years. And it was interesting because I spoke at an event not too long ago with, a panel of experts and, super successful entrepreneurs. And that was like the common theme. I was the first one to ask the question. It's like, what is the one lesson you can teach these entrepreneurs in the room? And, I didn't know what I was going to say, but then this came to me, and it was really all about trusting yourself. And, when I was finally able to truly trust myself, trust in my abilities and my gifts and my unique value, and knowing that, all of that adversity that I've been through really prepared me and taught me lessons and allowed me to become stronger and more confident on the other side. I really believe that all of our experiences, good or bad, are just stepping stones leading us to who we're meant to be, right? So if you can embrace that instead of, having a pity party for yourself all the time, oh, this happened to me and being a victim of your circumstance, versus saying, yes, that happened, but that happened for a reason, and I've learned lessons and I'm stronger for it. Now you're better equipped for that journey, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think all of these things come together in when we can celebrate our unique value and celebrate our gifts and trust ourselves, knowing that if we have a desire for something, if we want to create something, we only have that desire if we have everything we need to be successful or to reach that goal. So sometimes we doubt, can we even do it? Is it even possible? But trust me, if you have that desire in the first place, you can do it. You just have to believe in yourself, trust in yourself, and do the work, right? You do have to take action and work toward your goals, but having that clear vision of what you want to create, trusting and believing that it's possible, and then, creating a strategic plan to get there and, start taking that action towards that. So for me, it's kind of all those pieces have to come together for you to realize, what's possible. Otherwise, that garbage, that self-doubt and the negative belief system comes in and and sabotages it before it can ever happen, or definitely prevents you from reaching your true potential and keeps you playing small. Yeah. So, that's kind of.
Yeah. And I agree with all of that so wholeheartedly. And one of the things that I'm feeling as I'm listening to you say that around that clear vision and really that trust and belief in yourself, one of the things I feel very inclined for us to delve into a little bit for more, because I know the work that we both do, and there's a lot of this that shows up. And I know you specifically work in a way to help people understand their value. And so while there's an intention and while they're intellectually or in their mind, they're like, yeah, I get that. Or that's the big but, right? That they throw out there that's getting in their way. It's the big, I always ask, is your big butt getting in the way? It's that, but I don't even know how to believe in myself or trust in myself because I get it. I know that that's what I have to do. And then it's the language of the have to and I should and whatever else they're dumping on themselves. But they're not even at a point where that's an open gate for them yet. Mm-hmm. When you start stepping into a place to really talk to people about their value and owning and stepping into that space, what are some of the preliminary things they can do to get access to see what it's like to actually have belief and trust in themselves? Because for some people, they've never even experienced that. And they're sitting here going, I don't know what to believe in because I don't even know who I am. And so what would you, as you are approaching someone who's coming from that space, what would be something you would either strategy or something you would share with them to help get them on the course for a better chance of success?
Yeah, so women are definitely guilty of giving our time, gifts, and talents away, right? We're always for everybody else, taking care of our kids, taking care of our spouse, and doing for everyone else. And sometimes, our passions or our desires kind of just, get, tucked away, and we really don't take the time to discover what that is, discover what we truly want to create for ourselves. So that's the first thing. Give yourself permission to, first take the time, discover what is it that you truly desire. And some people believe that they don't have any passion, first of all. And then they often think that they don't have anything of value to offer, any gifts. I think that's BS. I really believe that God has given each and every one of us tremendous gifts. And we are actually responsible to share those gifts. And if you're not, you're robbing somebody of the opportunity, right? So to receive your gifts. So you talked about unique value, and that's kind of my sweet spot, what I really love to teach on, because in order to truly understand how you can, have a gift to share or have value to share, you have to understand what your unique value is and where does that come from. So I believe, this is kind of what I came up with, I believe our unique value comes from a number of different things. And it comes from our God-given gifts and talents. It comes from our education, our experiences in our lives, the skills we've developed over the years, our characteristics as a person, and our values as a person. So all those things come together to make up your unique value. So there's no two people on the planet that are alike. And so I think, the kiss of death is when people are like, oh, I'm going to start, a marketing business, and this person so-and-so is doing, this, and this, and they're super successful. So that's what I'm going to do. And the problem is, and I mentioned this through my own story, it's not about doing what other people are doing. It's taking that time to really discover what is it that you have to offer. How can you make the biggest impact by sharing everything it is that you have to offer, right? And when you're able to fully utilize your unique value and be of service with your gifts, then and only then can you be the most fulfilled in your life and make the biggest impact, the impact you were put on this planet to make. So we have to, look beyond the fear and you do it anyway, because don't make it about yourself. You know, if you're afraid because you're afraid of being judged or putting yourself out there, screw that. Like, look at who you are robbing of the opportunity to experience you, robbing of the opportunity for them to get to experience your brilliance, robbing somebody the opportunity of getting a solution to their problem, you know, a solution only you can provide. So, yeah, I think when you really look at it that way and you know that you have something of value to share and that you can help others with that, make that like the driving force behind doing all the other things that you have to do to get out there and to get in front of somebody and have that scary sales conversation, right? But it's really not about selling. It's about serving and just being authentic. And if you truly have a solution to someone's problem, you know, having the confidence to share that solution and let them decide if they want to move forward or not. So for me, it's you know, once you really understand your unique value, that's what gives you the confidence to get out there. That's what allows you to earn your worth ultimately.
Yeah, and that's incredibly powerful. I remember seeing a video clip. In fact, I use it sometimes in my training where it says you can never be the best copycat of anyone, right? And I think the idea that, and it's funny because I've had clients even say that to me, and I think you're hitting on such a powerful point right now that one of my clients once said, "Candy, teach me to be you." And I said, "No." And she goes, "Oh, ouch." And I said, "No, hear what I'm going to say. I will give you every tool, resource, material, way. I can give you all the resources, but I'm going to teach you to be you in that space." Because the thing is you're right. We all have a unique voice print or thumbprint or whatever you want to call it in terms of how we can communicate that message. Even if it's got the same harmony as another person, ultimately the song itself is different, right? And so you can put that out there and put that in mass capacities. And, you know, I know we've talked about this on the show before. It goes into that second question around, you know, the first one's who are you not serving when you choose not to stand in that space? But the second one is whose permission are you taking away? And I love that you talk about not giving people the permission to decide, right? It's you take away their opportunity to decide whether or not they want to take value from you, whether or not they see worth, whether or not, because you've got some kind of monkey mind or filter or something that's stopping you from showing up and delivering the gifts that you've been given. And so I think there's so much inside of that, because when you understand that, that belief and that trust become a little easier, because it almost becomes that burning necessity. It says, regardless of anything else, I don't have a choice. I have to stand in this space because it wakes me up every day with this incredible. And I love that you talk about passion and brilliance. And when you start to own that for yourself, it's like your north on your compass that just keeps driving you. That's like, look, you're going this way, whether you want to or not. Right. And I know just in knowing Megan, we both had those U-turns where we thought we were going one way, and the passion and the message and other things have said, no, actually, I want you to kind of take a hard right? And so you have trust that showed up for a reason, and you believe that you're given what you need to go through that. And so
something that came up when you were saying that, Candy, is, you know, sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And when we set goals for ourselves, like, they're only limited, they're limited based on our own experiences, right? So sometimes there's something bigger or better out there that we can't even imagine because we've never experienced it, right? So when you're setting your intentions, you know, you can have a clear idea or vision what you want to create, but be open to something bigger and better, right? And look for signs or, you know,
or the 2x4 if you're like me and don't always listen to the signs.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's something, you know, as we grow up and we become wiser, we really can tap more into our intuition. And women especially have an amazing gift, which is our intuition. And the more you can tap into that and listen and be present, you know, gosh, such amazing things show up. But we have to be present in the moment to recognize it. Because if we're just plugging away and doing our thing and getting in the grind, and you're not kind of checking into, you know, what intuitively you're getting guided to do, you might miss out on some cool opportunities. So, be willing to be present in the moment and be willing to be open to something bigger and greater than what you can imagine.
Yeah, and realize that that also requires you to slow down sometimes or just hit pause. For those of you, and whether it's women or, you men that are out there that do for everyone all the time, and you're constantly muscling and pushing that boulder uphill, and you're just in that grind of go, 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 go. If you don't allow yourself that pause to be still, you will miss those moments where what Megan's talking about, those whispers, that intuitive knowing, that space of, ooh, something about that, because you're too busy doing, you're not allowing yourself to receive anything. And that whole space of people just being busy for the sake of being busy, sometimes you got to stop and slow down. And I say that because many of you are like, I don't have time for that. And I'm going to tell you, you need to make time for that, because everything that Megan's talking about comes in the quiet space. It comes when you're being present in who you are in the moment. And so I really want you to hear what she just said, because I know some of you right now are saying, I don't have time for that, Candy. That's great. And I'm going to tell you, if you don't make time for it, you're not going to live the life of your dreams. So you're never going to feel fully fulfilled, and you're not going to have the passion that sets you on fire at 2 a.m, because you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to deliver this and create this impact and serve. And when you get in that space and you feel it and you dance in it, you never want to let it go. And so you're like, man, I'm creating more white space just to do that. So I want to emphasize that, because I think it's really important that you hear what Megan just said around that, and allow yourself to get in that space to listen and be present in those spaces, because that's where the magic happens.
Oh yeah. And Candy, when you're saying what your audience often, may be saying, I don't have time. Guess what? If you don't think you have time, you don't have time. But what if you did have time? What if you had enough time to do everything you wanted to do? And if you're intentional and focused and strategic with your actions each day, and you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off because you're on purpose and intentional, it's amazing how much time you have, how much time you truly have. So you can tell yourself all day long that you don't have enough time.
Well, Megan, let me ask you. I just had someone say this. They're like, Candy, you're so busy. You have all these things going. I go, no, I'm really productive, and I've never had more white space in my life. Yeah. I've never had more free time and downtime and white space, and I have more moving parts and pieces than I've ever had. But it's because they all connect. And I would ask, don't you feel the same thing? The more I get clear on that vision, on that path, it's like the more I'm like, how am I going to fill up this day? I'm good. I knocked out 3 weeks of work in 2 days.
Yeah, and it really starts with, having that routine in the morning where you take, 5 minutes or whatever to meditate, come from that place of gratitude and really appreciate what you have, and then set your intentions for the day. Make sure that your day is intentional and on purpose, and you're starting from that place of just calm and peace. Mm-hmm. And then you can get going with your day. So many of us, the alarm goes off, we jump out of bed and, get the kids going, do this, that. And then just like the whole day is a rush, and you're just kind of like attacking the day, or you're kind of reacting versus really just, making sure that you are, really setting the tone for your day and creating the day that you want to create. And it's all about, okay, do you want to have a lifestyle business that is fulfilling and, it's based on your passion, you actually enjoy, like you can't wait to wake up and go on with your day because you're so excited about what's going to happen? Or do you dread waking up the next day because of all of the stuff that you have to do? Really, it's a choice. You can decide if you want to be excited about your day or to wake up and, be frazzled and just kind of rush and be busy all day.
Yeah. And I mean, we talk about that all the time, the bookends. How you start your day and how you end your day is everything. And if you are not creating at least that space, that time for yourself, you will never be able to create time. And I am a big fan of you can either have the Newtonian version of time or the Einsteinian version of time. Newton said that time is scarce. It's a resource that's depleted. Einstein said you can create time and you can create opportunities. So I'm going to create time. I'm going to create that space, and I hope you guys will as well. Speaking of time, I would love to keep talking about this all day long, and I know that Megan and I can go for hours. We have, as I said, she's one of my closest friends. And so before we get wayside on anything else or into another discussion, Megan, how can people connect with you? I know for some people, you are speaking their language so powerfully, and there is a deep desire for them to continue this conversation. So how can they do that? What's the best way for them to access?
Okay, actually,
all of your brilliance.
Thank you. I'm feeling very compelled to offer, if it's okay with you,
Absolutely.
a very special free gift to the listeners that I think, is very, very relevant to what we're talking about. And so Candy had mentioned my book, The Passion Belief Method, Own Your Value and Earn Your Worth in Business. Well, I have a Passion Belief Method online quiz that you can take. So if you're kind of not knowing where you are, especially being at the beginning of a new year, it's so important to kind of reflect, kind of see where you are now, do a check-in before you can make plans or kind of set your path moving forward. So this is a tool that you can use that you're going to learn where you stand when it comes to your relationship with money, your self-worth, and the level of passion in your life and business. So you can kind of see where you're at. You're either going to be a passionista, a striver, or a self-saboteur. So you'll learn where you're at, and it'll give you some, tips and guidelines to kind of, reach that passionista level if you're not already there. So in order to take advantage of that very special free gift, you just go to PBM assessment. That's like PBM Passion Belief Method assessment.com, and then put your name and email, and then it's going to ask you for an access code. And the access code you want to use is all capital letters, PBM Rocks. PBM Rocks. So I hope you take advantage of that. It's a very helpful tool to kind of see where you're at, so then you can be able to make a decision moving forward and have the guidance that you need to get back on the right path in a confident and empowered way. So, and then also you can reach out to me at support@megantull.com is my email. And my website to learn a little bit more about me and what I do is megantull.com. So awesome. I really, really look forward to connecting with anybody who resonated with my message, so we can, have continue the conversation.
Yeah. And we will have all of that below for those of you that are listening. We will have that information there. But you know how I feel about assessments. I do not think you can take enough assessments. Opportunity to have that snapshot to see where your gaps and opportunities are. And if you are not creating that space and that time to have the truth tellers, to be really honest with yourself around where you're stuck, where you have opportunities, it's really hard for you to move forward in that capacity. And so I know the work that Megan does, and I absolutely know how she pulls things together. And so I highly suggest that you go out and check out her assessment, which was pbmassessment.com. The code was PBM Rocks, all capital letters. And I just really hope that you take the time, regardless of what you do, to take inventory, for the lack of the fact that I can't find the word.
You can make your own word up.
I make up my own words all the time. Take inventory on where you currently are, especially as we're starting a new year. It's very important for you to have those metrics and have those ways that you can measure your own progress and anything that might be getting in your way. And so as we close things out, I first want to say I'm so deeply grateful on so many levels for Megan. One, just who she is and how she shows up in my life. The fact that she is one of my dearest friends and somebody that is just a true confidant and someone I admire so much. But I also thank her for sharing some time and her wisdom and insights here today on the show. So Megan, thank you for being with us.
Oh, right back at you. Candy and I are soul sisters. I truly believe
Amen.
that.
Amen.
And I just want to encourage everybody, each and every one of you have amazing gifts to share. So be courageous, take inspired action, and share those gifts with the world. Thank you so
Love
much
it.
for having me, Candy. It's been
I
super
love
fun.
it. I love it. And she already beat me to the punch. I was going to ask her, what's those words of wisdom you want to
Yeah.
leave this audience with? And so, yes, please take that inspired action. Take whatever first leap of faith you need to step into that uncomfortable, to dare something bigger than where you're at now, because it does take movement to create something different. And as you know, this is our opportunity to realize that leadership is how you choose to show up. It's how you choose to serve others. And it's how you choose to take personal responsibility inside that space. And it all starts with you saying yes to yourself first. And so with that, it is my absolute honor and just privilege to serve all of you. Thank you for joining us again for another rock star episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. I hope you subscribe so you don't miss any of these. And just again, many just heartfelt thanks to my dear friend Megan. Many thanks to all of you, and go out and set the world on fire. We will talk to you at the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.